TVGrace presents Tracing Summaries 2020. The ineffable words of God that over-edify and lead us towards the great transformation.
But we have this treasure in earthen vessels. As he calls it, the life of Jesus is a treasure. The life of Jesus is a treasure that's in your earthen vessel. But we have this treasure in earthen vessels, that the excellence of the power may be of whom? Of God and not of us. Because, as he says in verse 8, he says, we are troubled on every side. We're not troubled on every side because he suffered a lot in those days. He didn't have cassettes or airplanes. So then he was recluded in an area that to travel he had to get on a plane. I'm saying on a boat. So the revelation would delay in advancing because he had opposition. The believers of those days didn't understand him. So then he didn't have friends. Peter was against him. James was against him. All the apostles were against him. Therefore, he can say, I was troubled on every side. Paul suffered a lot. Paul, well, it says we are troubled on every side, but not distressed. It isn't a problem to be troubled. A problem is to be in despair. Have you noticed that sometimes you go through trials and you know you're going through them, but when you have the revelation, the life of Jesus up here, I'm going to resolve it. This is going to pass. I'm upset, but I know I'm not despaired. Sometimes we go through situations, right? But since we're not despaired, we can govern the body and we're not disrespectful. We govern, right? We're troubled, but we're attentive to others. Because the life of Jesus in you gives you authority so that you can govern this vessel. So then the treasure governs that. So he says, perplexed. Listen, with the mortgage due, the rent is due, but I am not in despair. That's going to be resolved, right? Persecuted, but not forsaken. Here we can say, what do they call it? What did they do to us? Persecute us, but not forsaken. Listen, cast down, but not destroyed. Remember that Paul was stoned and they had him for a dead man, but he was risen from that death. Cast down, but not destroyed. The Apostle Paul felt cast down. Sometime he felt that the word wasn't going to be spread. Even Timothy, that was his friend, when Paul was in jail, he told Timothy, don't be ashamed of me. Don't think that I'm in jail because I've committed a crime. It's for the word. Enliven the fire that's in you. Timothy was afraid. What if that's false? The rest of the apostles are not with him. He's only one and there are many. How can one be right and the rest wrong when they walked with Jesus here on earth? Imagine anybody will get cold feet and lose their revelation. And that repeats itself with us because, listen, we have folks that are weak in faith that say, but how can Growing in Grace Ministry have reason and the rest be wrong? It's repeated in history. The life of Jesus, the first thing it has to do in your life is reveal the mysteries. The life of Jesus in a believer, if you ever fall into the trap of the religions of commandments of the law of Moses, then the life of Jesus doesn't do anything in your life. You fall in the trap of legalism. You fall into that's out there, fasting, visuals, seeing demons and Satan everywhere, thinking you can lose your salvation. Because the life of Jesus is in you, But until the mysteries of Jesus aren't manifest, so then you have the life of Jesus, but overshadow living by the law and the customs of religion, like many religions do. You know how many people today are bound by the system today? Every day there's a new movement interpreting Jesus. Every day there is competitiveness. Where there isn't competitiveness, it's in grace. When you come to grace, there is a bond in the spirit that's healthy. Naturally, even in grace, you can be operating in a measure of 30, 60, or 100-fold. But the life of Jesus in you wants to reveal mysteries. Number one, pre-existence. If you are a Christian and you don't know pre-existence, then you can't enjoy the life of Jesus. And pre-existence is that you understand that you exist before you had a body, that your spirit, and it's as easy to understand that you are a spirit. And if it's easy for you to understand that when you die, the spirit goes to God. When you die, everything doesn't end there, but your spirit goes to the Lord. So if you are a spirit, you have to understand that that spirit had a beginning. And the beginning wasn't when your mom and dad formed you in the womb of your mother. There, your flesh was formed, your features, your tissues were formed there, but the spirit was carried into that womb. So it means that that spirit exists before the foundation of the world, where those spirits were created. The life of Jesus is in you, and it must be manifest. If you don't hear that of the life of Jesus in you, then you're going to suffer in this life as the waves of the sea here and there. If you understand pre-existence and that you understand that you are a being here to overcome and be a conqueror, that you are a God, the life of Jesus only manifests itself in God, as Deuteronomy 10:17 says. He is God of gods. The life of Jesus only dwells in God. You are a God. You are a spirit. Definitely. You have to understand, if God created your spirit, God creates gods. God created spirits. Well, God created gods. For an example, if you have children, you are the children's parents. You are a human being that created another human being. Well, if God creates gods. That's simple. That's simple to understand. If this brings about confusion, I see you in a bad path. I see you in bad shape, sick. I see you. But if you have no problems with it, then I see you healthy. I see you well. The life of Jesus in you is breathing. You are well. Well, the life of Jesus has to communicate mysteries. That's the first point. It needs to reveal revelation. That's what the life of Jesus in you does, brings knowledge, so you have revelation. Sometimes you make friends and you get a little more confident with those folks that you lose their friendship. If you are a person that loses a lot of friends, if you notice that your friends last very little, you have to pay attention, because it's possibly because of your character. You want to hold silence as we think. Not too much over there, not too confident there, nor timid. You have to have a balance fits in, right? A balance in the character, right? There is wisdom in that. Oh, and listen, I greet everybody in the church, but get into their houses. God has taught me that there is a process to protect His word. Sometimes you get into a lot of problems because you're in a place you shouldn't be. There are many things we can avoid when the life of Jesus is manifest in your character. A character that's governed by the life of Jesus. You remember that Jesus knew how to deal with the Samaritan woman. He dealt with her a certain way. With Nicodemus, he dealt with him a little rough. With the adulterous woman, he dealt differently. To the thief, he dealt a certain way. So, you are a person that in your character, God gives you discernment. With this one, I have to apply this. Here, I can give a little more confidence than there. Because there are people that you give them a little confidence and they take all the confidence. And they get into your house, they invite themselves to your house, they open your refrigerator. People that will open the refrigerator say, don't bother, I'll grab it. And we are all folks that guard ourselves. When we go somewhere, we greet with respect, but you don't cross a certain line. And that is marvelous for the gospel of grace. And your character has to be perfected because you may need a man in your life. You may need a woman in your life. You may see a person that's interested in you and all of a sudden see certain attitudes that you lose that opportunity. You have a beautiful aspect, but when you open your mouth, that beauty, it's overshadowed by your character. There are people that are good looking, or maybe not be, but they win the respect of another person. And the life of Jesus gets involved in that also. It gets involved in that. That cultivates relationships. The life of Jesus in spiritual gifts. You know the spiritual gifts that are seated there? Beautiful gifts that when the life of Jesus allows you to manifest them. Don't you see that we all possess spiritual gifts? But the life of Jesus in me regulates them. No, I'm not going to use this gift in this order. I'm going to use it in that order. So then the life of Jesus allows you to do that as a gentleman, because there are people that are disrespectful to Jesus. You're not disrespectful to the Lord. You must allow the Lord to lead you in those gifts. Ephesians 4:1. Are we all there? Yes? It says, I therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, urge you that what? To walk worthy of the vocation which you were called. This is a vocation. If you keep the unity of the Spirit, that is converted in a vocation. You know that when you study a vocation, then you get the benefit of that vocation. It depends what you study. You get money, you get the benefit, because it is a vocation. So you have a vocation that gives you prosperity, health, joy. It shows you the path of life. You enjoy the best of life. It is a vocation. He that studies to be a doctor, well, what does he do? He gets the benefits. He reaps the benefits. The mechanic reaps the benefit. Well, you are asked, you were not called to a religion of people that are saddened where they fear God and a devil that's seeking to destroy you. They called you for a vocation, for a lifestyle. That's the way I live. I live a certain lifestyle. I program my whole day. As a matter of fact, I know what I'm going to eat in the morning. I know what I'm going to eat midday. And I plan my evenings, the calls I have to make. So I enjoy. Yes, every day the psalmist says, teach me to count my days where I can find content. Well, this is a lifestyle. It's a contentment that God gives you to reign in life so you can walk in the joy of the Lord. So then Paul is in prison because of this word. And he wasn't able to reach one. So feel sorry for the man. Therefore, I, a prisoner of the Lord, he pleaded that you keep the unity of the Spirit with humility and meekness. I've heard pastors that preach with such boasting. I feel sorry that they use a pulpit to speak like that. You know, when there is humility, when you know that you are nothing in flesh and that what you've received was revealed, right? So, yes. It says, be diligent to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. In other words, this is a diligence or a request we must do with peace, not obligate people. We have accomplished this, that all speak one and the same in all the nations in different languages. We even sing one and the same. And listen, when this is accomplished, there are benefits. It is in your favor to speak in the unity of the Spirit. It's to your advantage, because when you need a great healing, it's manifest. When you need whatever you may need, there it appears, because there we are keeping the unity. So if we keep the unity, there is a coverage. And if there is a coverage, God has to. He has to, because he is committed with his word. Listen, in the Old Testament, there was a coverage. The blood, the shadow always spoke of what was to come in the future. So then, when the angel of death was manifest within the Israelites, there was an angel killing all of the firstborn. And you hear all the women screaming, crying, because their firstborns had died. But what happens? Moses, he of that coverage, the coverage that passed, the temporary coverage, the coverage with defects. Well, that coverage, Moses says, listen, in the lintel of the door, put the blood of the lamb. And when the angel of death appears and sees blood, don't go in there. There's coverage there. When an epidemic is manifest, they're under coverage. When there's terrorism, they're under coverage. The Spirit protects you of bad friendships. The next verse says, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God, and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. One God, say one God, one Lord. Brethren, today there are many variations, many diversity. But when you come to the unity of the Spirit, the variation and diversity are over. When you come to the unity of the Spirit, you say, who is God? Well, God is Jesus Christ. Oh, but he is also. No. In the unity, he's one Lord. No, but that the Father, the Son. No. It's one Lord. But the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, the mystery of the Holy Trinity. No, that mystery of the Trinity was already revealed. It's one Lord. Oh, apostle, but the mystery of the Holy Trinity, that mystery was already revealed. We pass to the other side of the cross. We don't have to be over there any longer. We are after the cross. God does not need to hide in manifestations. God used to hide throughout the history of the Old Covenant till he came to the cross and he stopped hiding. As a matter of fact, Isaiah said, I, Jehovah, I will go save my people. I will be there. In whom? In the person of Jesus Christ. Say, the unity of the Spirit. Apostle, and what do I have to do to assure myself that I am in the unity of the Spirit? It is important, the unity of the Spirit. Is it important? Now, what do I have to do? Well, the unity of the Spirit comes in a teaching, and that teaching comes through an apostle. So then, for you to keep the unity of the Spirit, you have to be submitted to the apostle that God gave you to keep that unity. That's what God told us yesterday. I heard God clearly telling us that. No, apostle, so I don't have any problems. I'll do my own thing out there. Well, then you're going to leave the unity of the Spirit. That's what everyone has done. Everyone has taken their own path. The message is simple. The unity of the Spirit. And I am the apostle that communicated that to you, right? I am the apostle. You didn't know it, right? Well, I didn't know it also. I live as you live before the cross. And I used to travel and I rebuked demons because I learned to rebuke demons with those that are before the cross. And I used to say, brethren, God bless you, because I was before the cross. But then when they revealed this to me, that I should not say God bless you because God bless you is before the cross. And what does Galatians 3:9 says? That those who are of faith are what? Blessed with believing. Abraham, I am not of the law before the cross. I am of faith after the cross. Well, I am blessed. So then, I was the one that taught you that, but who taught it to me? I was taught this by Paul. Well, what happens? Well, it's very easy to understand this for those that confuse our manifestation of this ministry all around the world, that what is written, no one had interpreted like this. To Numbers chapter 12. Look to Numbers chapter 12, verse 1. It says, are we there? Then Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses. This is in the shadow there in that inferior covenant. Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. It is to say, they saw him according to the flesh. That's problems that Moses had with the daughter of Jethro. And it seems like she didn't want or understood his ministry. He said, I have to go rescue my people. She said, no, I'm accustomed to being with my father, but the ministry is first. Yes, but it's that I have to return to deliver my people. So if I go there, you have to follow me. No, I'm staying with Dad. You know, there are families that are like that. My father's first, my mother, my country, my culture. So then what happens? That Moses had to leave alone to rescue his people. But in that loneliness, he separated and he found an Ethiopian woman that wasn't an Israelite. To top it off, she wasn't from the village. So then what happens? That Moses has a powerful ministry, but he fell in love with that woman. So then his sister and brother begin to know him according to the flesh. And they spoke against him. And not only did they speak against him, but the second disobedience, look at what it says. Does the Lord speak only through Moses? Because the line was that always God chooses one man. And in those days it was Moses, and God wasn't going to speak with anyone else. Imagine if somebody got up here and said, why do we have to be tracing Jose? Why do we have to be imitating him? Don't I have intellect? I speak better Spanish and express myself better than him. The problem is, if God didn't choose him, he gets into a problem. Because God works with one man. Well, look, Moses was a stutterer. He stuttered. It was easy for his brother to say, why do I have to be interpreting? I express myself better than he does. The problem is the angelic coverage. Imagine, since he was Moses' brother, he's my brother, I know him. As a matter of fact, he's failing. I have an excuse to step all over him. We saw him failing. And he said, don't commit adultery, and he himself is committing adultery. The one that put the law is breaking the law. Let's challenge him. But look at what happened. Look how the one up there works. That's why he that touches you, oh! Listen, anyone can see you doing whatever they see you doing. And if he criticizes you in the flesh, God punishes him more than that's behaving than the one that's misbehaving. Oh! That's a problem. I'm saying, unless you have a better opinion than God, he does as he wishes. And if he's that way, who's going to? He's the chief. He is the trooper's chief. So in the Old Testament, the Lord was like that. Now, when Paul says, diligent in keeping the unity of the Spirit, God has no problems with your flesh. Now, God has problems with what you say and your doctrinal convictions. He has mercy for you, lots of it. But don't come in the way of his doctrine, because he'll cut you off. Listen, Paul was like that. Paul knew of the failings and faults of Titus, but he says, restore him. Don't consume him with sadness. But look how he dealt with people that broke the unity. Romans chapter 16. Romans chapter 16. This advice the Lord gives you today, Church of Miami, is so you understand that your thoughts are not the thoughts of the Lord. God works totally different from the human race. And if you understand him, you put him in your pocket. Listen, you're going to have him favoring you for the rest of your life easily. But if you don't understand him, you're going to be going from one side to the other, walking wrongfully, and the angels are not going to assist. Because God is a God of covenant, and he has his rules. If you learn the rules of his game, things will come out well. If not, things are not going to go well. Listen, chapter 16, verse 17 through 19. Paul says to be diligent in keeping the unity, right? He says diligent. Put a lot of diligence in that, because that's where I am glorified and send my angels to bless you and bring blessings to you. So be diligent in that. So then now he comes and says here, now I beg you, brothers, look out, have the eye, look out for those who are causing the divisions and occasions of stumbling, contrary to the doctrine which you learned, and turn away from them. Change the phone. Well, not the phone, but the number, because you can continue to use the phone. For those who are such do not serve the Lord, our Lord Jesus Christ, but their own belly. And by smooth words and flattering speeches, they deceive the hearts of the naive. But against the doctrine, hello, that's where the problem lies. You can speak whatever you want, but don't come against the doctrine. Because there, the Lord heard what they spoke. Then things get as red ants. The unity of the Spirit. Let's look to see what the unity of the Spirit is. First letter to the Corinthians 1:10. Chapter 1, verse 10. Right there. We were close. I plead. Are we there? Now, an apostolic plea. comes. Listen, the unity of the Spirit is in the bond of peace. This is not obligatory. No, it's in the bond of peace. Not obligate someone. United in the unity of the Spirit and the bond of love. It has to be something you understand. No, with that ministry that you've given that ministry your money, it looks like they wash. You were brainwashed in that ministry. Imagine. But it's that man obligates you. No, here it's in peace. It's voluntary because you are an understander. You have intellect and you want to be right with Father Lord. Your business is with the Lord, to be right with the Lord. If that's what he asked for, that's what you do. You do what he asks of you and you have the benefits. So what's the unity of the Spirit? Verse 10, now I plead with you, brethren, by the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that you all speak the same thing, and that there be no division among you, but that you be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment. Listen to fulfill that. Have you seen an orchestra with two directors? There's the orchestra, and this one is going like this, and the one over there is doing, and all of a sudden you're looking both ways, and everybody's confused. Listen, no, what is this? I don't understand this. There has to be one director. Now, to speak one and the same, there has to be one head, one voice, one that teaches. If it hadn't been me and it had been someone else, well, then I would have to seek for the unity. Who's the other? He's the other one. Well, it isn't the person. It's what he is saying for the benefit of the unity of the Spirit. It isn't because it's Jose Luis. In this case, I was chosen. But if they had chosen you, well, then you're the one we have to follow and seek to see what you're saying, because God took pleasure in choosing you. And God is going to express himself only through that person. And God does not lay off. God does not lay off anyone from this job. Once he chooses, where he puts the eye, he puts the bullet.